why you should reconsider living in Germany, moving to Germany, and maybe you should not be living in the European Union altogether. My name is Gerald Sommer, and I'm here with Thomas Davis, a local Paraguayan, actually Uruguayan, Paraguayan, European, I'd say. And so Thomas is going to explain to us more about his experience living in Europe, and he's going to compare his life in Paraguay to the life he had back in Europe. Thank you for coming, Thomas. I appreciate it. If you can start out telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and so we can get to know you a bit better.
So, as Gerald said, my name is Thomas Davis. I am from Paraguay. Also, I have a Uruguayan and European background because of my family, right? I studied in Germany, and nowadays I live in Paraguay because I run my own language institute here and also a cultural exchange center.
Now, talk to us about your experience living in Germany. You have lived in Germany, but you did come back to Paraguay. Now, what exactly happened in Germany? Why did you go there? What experiences were you able to accumulate? And what were some of the biggest takeaways for you?
Very good. Yes, I studied in Heidelberg and I also live in Bonn. So it's two different worlds, right? One is the southern part of Germany. The other part is the kind of middle west, right? And yeah. So I studied business engineering in Heidelberg, and it was a really good experience, a really good cultural exchange as well, because Heidelberg is a really international city where you have people from Latin America, people from all parts of Europe, right? So that part was great. I really loved my experience like as a student there. But then I moved to Bonn, where I have my working experience, and the highlight is that I love the company that what I work for. It was DHL. I really love my position there. I love how professional it was, even though I was a junior, right? I really get the chance of learning a lot. So working wise, I love the German culture. I guess the European Union had a highlight in that, right? Regarding the lowlights, I'll say the weather was really sometimes really crappy because it was really rainy, and sometimes that affects the attitude of people, and it's kind of difficult to make friends, right? Because I understand that the German culture is so different to Latins, right? And they have different approaches, but I guess the weather also influence of people. Let's say in the winter, they don't want to interact very much and they don't want to get out of their houses. Also, lowlight, I'll say the food, because I guess in Paraguay, our standards are really high. Like we have really good meat, really good food, typical food, let's say, and comparing to European foods, I guess it's so different. So when I was there, I really miss Paraguayan meat and doing like a barbecue, or how we call it here, it's asado, right? And another highlight I'll say from Germany is the public transportation. Even though I know Germans really criticize the Deutsche Bahn and the delays and whatever, I believe that Germany is really, really well connected, and that's a highlight, because let's say you're bored on the weekend and you just use the Deutschland ticket. That is something that's a monthly subscription. You pay like 50 euros and you could move all around Germany for free, even the buses. So that, for example, I don't know any other country that has that, and for me that's a highlight because it's really walkable, right? It's like you just open your door, you start walking, and you search something to do. That's, for example, something I really value a lot about Germany, right? But in social interactions, I guess Paraguay wins this, because I guess people are so friendly. I never know a country where people treat so well the foreigners, right? They really are really open to get to know people. They want to include them in the culture. So I guess Paraguay in that part, it's the best place for making friends, the best place to adapt, because people really like want you to feel safe and want you to feel included, right?
And if you've been around the planet, you know, you've been to Europe, I've been to a lot of places, and I know that's not a given everywhere. In fact, in a lot of countries, you're rejected because perhaps people don't like your skin color. They don't like where you're from. It's true. But here in Paraguay, it's like people are naturally nice, and people are naturally willing to accept you. And like you've also pointed out, know more about you. There's just a natural interest there. Yeah. And Paraguayan culture is very respectful toward foreigners. Right? I think that's very prominent too. One of the countries where I had very similar experience is probably the Philippines, you know, where people are just naturally nice people and they're probably never going to see anything bad to you. And in Paraguay, I feel it might be at the same level or even better. And plus, because of the history of Paraguay, Paraguay is pretty much a country of immigrants. If you think about it, you know, just like Uruguay and Argentina, also countries of immigrants. And I think that changes things a lot, you know, especially for someone from Europe migrating to South America or someone from North America migrating to South America. I think that makes a big difference too. you know, why you're being very welcomed here. Talk to us about some other things here, like you're now gone. You're not going back to Germany. You pointed this out in a private conversation to me. You have no interest in living in Germany for obvious reasons. What do you recommend now to Europeans watching this video? People are not really sure about the trajectory of Europe. There are very obvious issues in Europe these days surrounding immigration. It's one of the biggest concerns that Europeans have across the whole continent. This problem is not uniquely German or not uniquely Italian. Like, Europeans are very concerned about immigration. They're concerned about identity loss and cultural loss. Do you see Europeans fitting well into the Paraguayan society? Let's say people have an online business. Perhaps they want to start a local business here, like we have, and I'm looking to start more too. Do you see people integrating well into the Paraguayan culture? Maybe you can give our audience, especially people watching this video who are looking to come here, some tips about integrating here in Paraguay and maybe starting a business.
Yeah, let's start my story with my own experience, right? That I, for example, feel that throughout all my life that I am an entrepreneur. I love creating, I love creativity, I love innovation, right? And I believe that's a low light I miss from Germany, that everything is already done, and sometimes that's hard because of the bureaucracy that the country has, right? Here in Paraguay, it's the total opposite. There are a lot of things to be done, right? And the government really supports a lot the local ideas and also online businesses, right? It's really friendly with the foreigners. My advice, or something that Europeans must know, is that coming here to Paraguay, you will have the full experience of making friends, good weather, and also regarding professional activities, right? If you want to run an online business, or you want to start your own, or you want to just like grab an idea that you saw in Europe and translate it here, it's totally fine, because people will be open, and people really love and really want to include you in the culture. And regarding professional activity, I guess it's something easy to be done comparing to other countries, right?
I wanted to continue a little bit on this. You said it's much easier to start a business here, pretty much, due to lack of regulation, which also leads to lower taxes. You know, whenever you increase the government, you increase spending, and that raises taxes on all ends, and that's not very desirable. A lot of people, especially Europeans and Americans, are looking to get out of their Western countries to establish themselves in a place like Paraguay, where regulation is kept at a bare minimum. We have interviewed a senator last week, and he was talking about Paraguay being unwilling to make it more difficult for businesses to incorporate here. They want to keep the whole process. You know, it's a lot of bureaucracy. They want to keep this process as simple as possible, and they want to make it as quick as possible and just as easy as it can be. Whereas incorporating a business in Germany, you know, just giving an example, or in any other country like Spain and Italy and Austria and other countries, it's much more tedious. Sometimes you have to get approved by the government. It's just more nuanced. It takes more money. And let's not even talk about the taxes. How much taxes are you going to pay? In Austria, the highest income tax bracket is 55%. Here, it's 10%. I mean, unless you have certain income from capital gains and you're not a resident. But if you're a resident, you're actually going to pay less in taxes here than if you are a non-resident. And Paraguay operates a territorial tax system where foreign sourced income is not excluded. Let's say in your case, you have income from abroad, and as a Paraguayan, you're bringing the income with you into Paraguay, you're not going to be taxed on that income. Obviously, you have to prove where the income is from. For instance, when we are paying our employees here, they have to prove that they do work for the foreign entity in question. However, the Paraguayan government will not tax them on the income that's generated from outside Paraguay's borders. In Europe, especially in the European Union, there is no territorial tax system. So you're going to have to pay taxes on your worldwide income if you are a resident of a European Union country. So I can see how this is a lot more attractive to an EU citizen looking to establish themselves in Paraguay. And the same for Americans too. The whole taxation surrounding US citizens abroad is crazy. For a US citizen, Thomas, if you haven't spent a single day per year in the country, you still have to pay taxes to the US government. So there is a threshold of $126,500 right now. It's called the foreign earned income exclusion. If you're lucky enough to qualify, it depends on the income you have and how much time you spend in the country, how much time outside the country. You know, you have to meet a lot of requirements. And in fact, a lot of people don't qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion. They apply for it, they don't qualify for it. And so they're still going to have to pay taxes regardless. Let's say you come as an American, you come to Paraguay, you want to live here. It's more difficult you know, to not pay taxes as an American. Whereas if you renounce US citizenship, it's usually very different. What are some final thoughts that you can give us, you know, because we're not talking about leaving Europe. I know I kind of pivoted now to the US and talking about how Americans are treated, like tax-wise. But please, Thomas, talk to us about what is like a final tip that you can give people before coming here, something maybe they should be aware of, especially those looking to immigrate to Paraguay on a more permanent basis. And
so first thing I want to just clear also my personal experience, right, that I run a company here in Paraguay. So obviously I have a Paraguayan residence, and that changed a little bit the legal figure, right? But there here in Paraguay, we have something that is called EAS, that you could open your company in 72 hours. So that's a plus whenever you want to start a new business, right? So if you get the chance also to get like a Paraguayan associate, for you it will be super easy to open a company. But regarding the taxes, and also a final tip for the Europeans and US people that want to come here, just try to check for good information. Here, the only lowlight I'll say that we don't have good information online. There are like few good sources or reliable sources. So just try to check it all out. And something that is really, really a must is start learning Spanish, right? Something here that I'm not so proud of is that, let's say, Paraguayans don't know too much English, right? So I believe that it's a must to learn Spanish and try to master that, because it will be really, really something that it will help you out throughout your whole process of migrating.
Yeah, I agree with this, and I've stressed this a lot throughout our videos, and there are some people that say, oh, you can get by in Paraguay without Spanish, but I think they're just speaking how they are. You do have to learn Spanish, and it's a Spanish-speaking country, and I don't think this is going to change in the next decade or two. I think it's going to remain a Spanish-speaking country, despite of all the American influence that's being taken place here. You know, Paraguay is heavily influenced by US politics, it's true. It's still under the US umbrella in certain ways, but it's not going to become an English-speaking country in the next decade or two. However, something that I've noticed, and I've noticed this also in other countries where I lived, for instance, in Vietnam, there's just a higher percentile. In my opinion, every year there was a higher percentile of English-speaking people in Vietnam. Why? People watch Netflix, right? Now we are in the Netflix generation. This is one of the easiest ways for people to educate themselves, right? You're at home, you turn on the TV. The subscription is just maybe like $7 a month. You know, it's nothing. That would be a great way to learn it too. However, the best way to go about learning a language is to just going out there and studying it, you know, enrolling in a school, of course, and just going out there and being willing to fail. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for all the information you shared. I hope you're going to have a good time back home. If you're interested in relocating to Paraguay and starting a business here, you're welcome to book a consultation with me personally. You should see our website displayed on the screen. There's also a link added to the description of the video. Please consult with us today on how you can relocate to Paraguay and start a business in this country. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your attendance, and we see you on the next video.